Hiya, this is Trev and welcome to my blog. Welcome to part 7 of my Bedford CA van restoration. I'd just like to thank the people that came forward when I made my appeal for the parts that I needed for the van in part 5, I think it was. So thank you very much to those people that came forward and helped me out with a name that cropped up once or twice, a chap called John Granger. Now I actually went to see John shortly after, and he helped me out with the parts I needed. I was after some brake backing plates and some windows and a few other various bits and pieces, and he helped me out, so thank you very much to those people that came forward. So that was really good. And John actually makes an appearance later on in the video because he was quite intrigued by what I was doing, and he popped round to have a look at the van. So what am I going to show you in this part? Well, what I try to do is I try to give each part a thread that you can follow. So I can say this week, not this week, but this part is going to be the brakes, any exhaust, etc, etc. So that you can actually follow the thread. It hasn't actually happened in exactly this chronological order, and the reason for that is because you do tend to get stuck on these projects, and you might be able to make a start on the brakes, but then you might have to stop and then do something else. And if I didn't give it to you in a thread, then it would probably be virtually unwatchable, because I'd make a start on something and then I'd finish it and do a little bit on something else. So I hope this comes across when you're watching the blog. So I've got a lot of leftover little bits and pieces, so I'm going to just fire these little clips all together and make of it what you will. You might be able to pick something out of it there that will be of use to you, so enjoy. I felt compelled today to do some research on the speedo for the Focus, and when I did this I discovered something quite alarming, that these sensors become faulty. When they become faulty, the speedo in the Focus drops to 0 miles an hour. That's bad enough in itself, but what I find most alarming is that people also report that the car often stalls when this happens, or the engine behaves erratically. This is because the ECU believes that the car is now stationary. This is a real issue now, because if I can't get this working and build this into the original wiring loom, then the engine isn't going to behave as it should. So I've had to destroy the gearbox to get to the diff. Typical, it's in the lowest part of the gearbox, the diff, and there's this drive. There's a diff bearing on here. I've removed this, and nothing that special about it. It's not magnetic, but the switch is magnetic. Tested the switch. The switch does actually have magnetic properties. So as this is turning inside the gearbox, causing a pulse as it goes past each little metal finger to that switch, which is telling the car how fast it's going. So 1 revolution of this equals 1 revolution of the wheel, because it's driven directly off the diff. So my initial plans are, they may change of course, I was going to set up a drive for the speedo drive off the Sierra gearbox to somehow drive this, turn this wheel. I haven't got a clue about the gearing, but you know, mess about with that afterwards. But if I could get this to turn approximately 1 revolution to every wheel turn revolution, mount the switch nearby so that it's behaving as it would have done in the Focus, then there's no reason why I can't incorporate this into my build and also have some kind of speedo working off the Sierra gearbox and still retain the original Focus instrument panel. These are the replacement axles with the Girling brakes fitted. This is the old Lockheed unit. As you can see, one wheel cylinder. And this is the Girling unit with two wheel cylinders. I've just removed the bearing and I want to really check everything over to make sure that everything's going to fit. I asked the question of quite a few people who were in the know what differences there were, and to be honest with you, I got pretty scratchy replies. Now, the first thing I've noticed is that there's a difference in the drums. So there is a difference. The diameter of the Lockheed drum is a little bit bigger than the Girling. The wall thickness is quite a bit more, and it's not just due from wear and tear, it is genuinely thicker, and slightly smaller, only by about 6mm, or not even that maybe. The depth of the drum is greater on the Girling, and this is because the shoes are wider than the Lockheed shoes, so it should give me a little bit more grab. But there is a difference anyway, so you wouldn't really want to put the Lockheed drums if you bought some Girling backing plates and you just wanted to swap all the brakes over. Then you might be in trouble putting the Lockheed drums on, because you're not going to be able to adjust the brakes up fully. They only grab when the adjusters have been wound right up to their maximum. So if you have brand new shoes, adjusters wound up to the maximum, you might just work, but really you want the Girling drums as well, because there is a difference. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove that backing plate from the stub axle. I've measured the stub axle on the van and it's exactly the same as this, so I don't think there's going to be any more differences. So I'm going to just whip that off, make sure that these bolt holes line up, and then I can keep all this as spares, or if I fit this I can keep the van stuff as spares, because all the bore joints seem to be pretty good. So there we have it. Girling brakes fitted to a pre-61 Bedford CA. All the bolts fit perfectly, so there's no other issues to worry about. You're going to need the backing plate and you're going to need the drum if you're going to change yours. Like I said, took some measurements of the stub axle from this van to the donor CA axle, and there didn't seem to be any problems. Got the bearing here, I'll just see if it just falls on. Yeah, no problem. Pinch that up, job done. I'm going to strip it anyway, strip the whole lot back down again, because got a bit of rust and gunk all over it. I clean it all off, give it a nice paint up. Set of wheel cylinders, set of shoes, set of brake pipes. Make a nice job. So what do you think, John?
My name is John, this is Trevor's blog, and I think he's mad. But he's doing a great job all the same. Anyway.
John's popped over to have a look at the van. This is the chap that sorted me out with the spare parts, so if you need any parts for your Bedford CA,
come and see me.
Definitely.
I'll do the best I can for you. As I have for Trevor, bless him. But I don't do Ford Focus stuff normally. But yeah, it's coming on well. Very good.
Here we are in the Focus donor car. I've bought this car for the wiring loom, the fuel tank, fuel injection, and any other parts that I can utilise. I thought this was the easiest, most straightforward route to go down to as I didn't pay a great deal for this car and it's all up and running. So I've got a spare engine as well if I needed it. Now there's a lot of bulk with this wiring loom, as you can see. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm actually cutting circuits out of the original wiring loom because I haven't got the space to store all this inside the van, and most of it isn't needed because this vehicle's got airbags, security system. I mean, the doors are a nightmare on their own. You've got central locking, electric windows, electric absolutely everything. So I'm stripping all this wiring out. The problem I've got with stripping the wiring out is you've got to be very careful that you don't disturb one wire that's feeding two systems. And earlier I cut a wire that was a heater feed that don't need the heater circuit because that's massive as well, because it's got air conditioning and heating. And I cut the wire and then the immobiliser light stopped working, as you can just about see it flashing on and off there. Now the reason for this is because you have one wire feeding several systems. That's the wire there. That's feeding 3 and it was 4, and I cut one wire and it all went out because I'd cut the feed back to the box. So I've got to be very careful when I'm cutting it out not to cut out anything that's going to affect anything else. I know this looks a lot here, but believe it or not, that there on that seat is what I've already cut out. That's all gone. So I've reduced the bulk considerably. I've still got a little way to go. We've got this harness here that controlled part of the airbag system. I've already removed a ton of the airbag stuff, but this is one of the plugs that went to the airbag module. Still got to remove that yet. A couple of other wires I'm not too sure about. Also I've got the ABS under the bonnet that I've got to sort out yet. So just keeping your mind on the ball really. I don't want to make myself more hassle by cutting out the wiring and then disturbing something and then the whole thing not working, which would be a complete nightmare. So it's a bit of wrestle really with the old conscience. Part of you saying don't disturb it, just fit it as it is and try and utilise some space in the van to swallow this bulk up somewhere, and the other part of you saying no, just try and get it down to as little as possible. And the other part of you saying, I'm sorry, I'm not really paying much attention, I was too busy listening to a conversation between two sparrows on the roof over there. It's the 21st of October. Here's my friend Gordon. Say hello, Gordon.
Hello, good afternoon.
We're going to take the engine out today, out of the donor car, the Focus donor car. So, I'll do a little video of the car, engine hoist. I've sussed the wiring now. The wiring's all been modified. It hasn't been taped up yet, obviously, because it's got to go in the van. So, we're all ready now. Just going to winch the engine out so that I can get to everything else, because I need the brakes, servo and the steering rack. Bring her about, Mr. Christian. Steady as she goes. Okay, so that wraps up part 7. In part 8, I'm going to do the steering. Big job. Big job. Probably won't be able to do it in one part because I'm going to go into the theory of the steering as well. Some people might not appreciate this, but you know, there's always an off burn, isn't there? Now, it's going to be a big one.